I failed my test again. So I'm gonna analyze my score and eat donuts with baby. Alright. Now this time, business management. I actually failed every one of them. And I did the worst on contractor rules and regulations. So we'll put a star next to that because that's the one I did the worst. We'll do a little symbol there. And then the tax laws, I would say I did like second worst because I got 2 of them wrong out of 3. So same with labor laws and employment regulations. But the ones that I got all right, I'm gonna cross that out. Lien laws, I got all of that right. OSHA, I got right. So I definitely don't need to study OSHA. And there's only 2 questions of that. Project management, I got everything right on that. Financial management, I remember there's like, it was like I was guessing on everything. It was like every question was like a trick question. It didn't make any sense. So I gotta study that one good. Environmental laws and regulations. That's another bullshit. It's like everything's a trick question. It's only like. They have all these numbers. The numbers are like how much does the project have to be worth before you have to get a CPA? And I was writing the questions. First of all, I was like, I knew that I was gonna barely finish on time. So I didn't write the questions that I was like, thought that I would get wrong. I thought I would get 16 wrong. And there's a little flag thing, and I put the flag on 16 of them. I got 18 wrong. But the ones that I got wrong, or that I flagged, I went through them and wrote the questions. But then I couldn't write them all down because I didn't have long enough. But one of the questions was I don't remember if it was the CPA, like you have to get one or you don't have to get one. But it was 500, and then it was like 750, and I think 650, and 900. And then I'm like looking through the book trying to find any of these numbers. I was like, is there like any of these numbers and the word CPA even near each other? Like where, like what am I like And I could not find a combination of them talking about a freaking CPA and any of these numbers. And I was like, whatever. It's just like, I'm just going to go with 900. I don't know if I probably got that one wrong. Because I know I got a tax laws wrong. You know, so. So I'm going to go through the book. And I'm going to see which ones of these I got right or wrong. And I might even be getting just questions wrong that I think I'm getting right. And I'm not even putting the question down. I'm like, oh yeah, this is obvious, this one. And I'm getting them wrong. I don't know. Because I got 18 of them. There's definitely 2 of them that I didn't mark and I got wrong. So that's why I'm doing this. I gotta mark these and I gotta study the ones that I got wrong. You know? So, and then I'm gonna compare it to 2024. This is like over a year ago. The end of last year. Or the end of 2 years ago. It was 13 months ago. Like I'm equally fucking handsome. And look, it's the same thing with this. Oh, the lien laws, I didn't get them all right. What I did get all right was OSHA. OSHA is like the easiest thing ever to remember. I got a 0 on financial management. Laws and regulations looks like shit too. Estimating and bidding. I remember doing okay on that one this time. I got 5, or 4 out of 5 this time. I got 2 out of 5 the last time. On estimating. 2 of the environmental. I remember seeing the environmental questions and saying seeing the environmental stuff in the book, and like I took a college class about environmental. So I figured that I would know that kind of stuff, but it's all trick questions. The whole test is trick questions. So the 20th, this is the 7th. It's like I'm in a pattern. I go on these stints where I go and try to take the test, and then I get busy, and I don't try to take it for a year. Oh my god, this one. This is the first time I took the test. Rules and regulations, I got all correct the first time. Same with lien laws. I always get OSHA all correct. The project management, I was like, didn't. Financial management. I gotta figure out what is the line between financial management and tax law. Because the tax law stuff in the book, it's like all these percentages, and then there's a big chart, but the chart doesn't mean crap in the exam. There's not one thing on this chart that's in the exam. It's all like, when do you, like, it's just a chart of like when you start taking how many taxes from somebody's paycheck. And none of that is, it's not like, that's not a question in the exam. How many taxes do you take from a guy that just made 700? That's not in the test. They'll ask a question like, what date do you have to pay taxes or file a form 940? That was one of the questions. On what date do you have to pay the taxes on a form 940? Like, look at all these dates. It's like, here's one date, here's another date. It's like, those are for the semi-weekly. Like, you gotta know what a form I-40 is, and it's like, there's gotta be like 10 different forms. You know, there's like 4 or 6 different kind of forms. And it's like, you just gotta know everything in the book. It's stupid. It's the stupidest. Ugh, I hate this test. And I'm gonna take it, and I'm not even gonna get any kind of work out of it. Like, period. Watch. I'm not gonna get paid a goddamn thing, and I'm gonna have to put all of this money, time, and energy into taking this freaking test. I'm not gonna make a dime when I pass it. And I got the same score, but I got all of this one right. It's like, so. That's still only 5 of them. I don't know how many correct I have to even get. Probably 45. Probably gotta get the whole freaking test. Like 45 or 46 or something. So even if I got all of them right that I got on the first one, I still would have failed. Anyway, here are the questions that confuse me. And I'm gonna go through the book and try to figure these out. This is when I did go through and try to figure them out. The appeal committee within 10 days thing, I remember that being in the book. There's like a little section that says, when do you appeal to the committee? 10 days. And it says like 4 times. This test didn't ask about, like, the test varies, where it's like a number of, there's like a B, C, and D version or whatever, and apparently I got a different version because they didn't ask about the labor hours for vacation hours this time that I took it at all. So I'm getting a different test, I'm getting like a different version every time. It's like I just could have memorized a book. I can't get out of it. Oh, this is one of those that I was confused about today. The commercial contractor leaves the qualifying party, man. So there's a guy as a qualifying party. Basically, he passed this test. You need one of those on every company that's got a big commercial contract. And let's say your qualifying party guy walks off and leaves, quit. So you guys are assholes, you're doing everything wrong, you won't really goddamn listen to me, and he quits. How many days you got to notify your contractor licensing board? And the answer is 10. And I definitely got that one wrong, because I thought that it was 7. And they kept asking all these questions that ask how many days something. And I remember there was one answer that's 7 days, and it's apparently to transmit injury and illness to OSHA. And I remembered that was really funny, so I remembered it being 7 days, and I kept thinking in my head, 7 days, 7 days, like that movie where the girl jumps out of the TV. It's like a horror movie, The Ring. And they go 7 days, 7 days in that horror movie, The Ring. And so I was answering all of these, like whenever they were asking how many days, whatever, it was just in my head, 7 days. But apparently I guessed 7 days on the first time I took the exam. We got this OSHA reporting thing right every time. So I guessed 7 days on the OSHA thing, but I must be guessing 7 days on every time they ask me the days, and then I just get some wrong. Except for that the first time I put a bunch of them were 10 days. And maybe I caught onto that the first time I was reading the book. And all of them are the rules and regulations. Or the lien laws. Oh, but the lien laws this time, I was in the 7 days thing. And I think the thing is that all those days questions they ask, they're like 10 days. Like for whatever reason, they just go to 10 days, like on almost everything except for the OSHA. It's on this 7-day kick, and then that's what was funny to me, because like OSHA is scary to people. Like that scary movie. So I gotta read the whole book and memorize everything. Oh my god. Alright, we're studying for the NASA Contractor Licensing Board PSI test for business and law certificate to get the new home builder or the GC license. It's a requirement. So contractor liable cutting insurance. This page, I got questions that I was confused about from the last time I took the test, or the second time, and I thought the third time too. I haven't gone through and pulled the answers, but a lot of them are the same. But the GC is liable for the row. And that section, it almost seems like the GC is just always liable. Like if you're in doubt, it's the contractor is liable. If you're in doubt, the insurance company doesn't owe him any money. And I don't know which questions I got wrong. So, don't take my word for it. Sediment. That's a question that they definitely ask. It's like definitely in the test, as they ask about stormwater runoff, sediment. It's a question about why there's water pollution. And there's the same question. There's a question about the same thing, the water pollution. Partnership. Responsibility. Of all members. Appeal committee within how many days? And it's 10. That's what I pulled out of the book last time I took it. So. They ask a lot of questions about how many days you have to notify people, send notifications, or liens, etc. And I figured out the word, or the word of thumb for this test is when they're asking how many days it is that you have to do something within. It's usually 10, except for when they talk about to transmit injury info to OSHA. Then it's 7 days. So the OSHA gets 7 days to put in the paperwork to tell them that there is an injury on the job. But basically everybody else gets notice within 10 days. That there's liens, that there's appeal, the qualifying party that left the job site. How many days to preserve lien rights? It's 120. That's a question that I would say to recognize that question, how they word it when you're taking the test. It's about how many days to obtain the lien rights, but the answers are like 120, 160, 200. So It's the 120. There's not like a 121 or like it's like there. It's all, you know, the numbers are something like 120, 140, 160, 200, and it's 120. Necessary vacation hours, none. So Fair Labor Act, nobody is gonna say I have the right to go on vacation. No, it's kind of hard to find for me in the book. Supplier walks off with $1,000 in materials. How much can he be told to pay for damages or whatever? Something like the question. And when they ask about somebody walking off with 1,000 in materials, the answer is 2,500. Pretty sure I put 2,500, and I hate it because I know that I got questions wrong, but I don't know what the questions were that I got wrong. And then like I hate that they categorize the questions as like project management. There's not a chapter that says project management, so it's like you can't go. They're like OSHA record keeping. Like there's not a chapter in the book that's like the chapter of OSHA record keeping. Like this whole thing is like is not built for this test. It's built to make this test really hard. And yeah, up to 2,500 penalty. So the penalty for stealing is $2,500. That's what you gotta remember. You bid including accounting work. Yeah, you put accounting goes in the overhead for the company overhead. It's part of your company and the costs that the customer is using your company as a product. And to maintain a company, you have to maintain accounting, and that costs money, so you put that in the bill. Commercial. Oh, I got this question wrong on today's test. The magic answer is 750K. I put 900. That's when can they have a CPA? Do financial settlement for projects of less than, and then it's 500 to 900K. And then on this one, I wrote it as one of the questions that I wasn't sure. This is my questions I just wasn't sure about. I put something, and then I wrote the question. write all of them, but I just wrote some of them. And it's 7:50. I gotta remember that. And is it open book test, but all the book is like not easy to go through. If you're opening the book during this open book test, you're basically screwed. It's like you're sitting there opening the book and letting everybody in the room know that you're screwed and you're gonna fail when you open the book at the open book test. So there is some training for today. I'm doing the NASA business law, project management, study time. For the PSI test that I failed 3 times. And I'm going to read through the book. When I see something that is in the test that I already took up 3 times, and talk about it. Also, I'm gonna throw the fish skins to Ladybird. I should come back and make the videos when, because I know that this book is online. Nobody's gonna be reading it out of my YouTube video. I should come back and turn on the camera when I find something that is related to questions that are in the test. Because the practice tests are very inaccurate. I got the practice test completely stomped. But the practice test questions are very different from the test questions. this is one thing, that's why I'm reading chapter 1. Because I know that they ask a question about a business plan, and I cannot remember what that question was. But they definitely asked one question about a business plan. Oh, I think it was something like, what is included in a business plan? And that's what I hate about the test is it doesn't say like this is a list of things included in a business plan. It's not going to be in here. But why you would make a business plan is for a loan or investor document. And it's which one of these is not a reason why you make a business plan, or not something that you would include in the business plan? I think it's the question. Which of these would you not include in the business plan? And projected growth is one of the things in that list. You do put that in the business plan. You do talk about your competitors. And you do talk about the qualification of your management team. All aspects of your business is not one of the things that they mention in the question. It's got something to do with the business plan that I just can't remember. Oh, competitive edge. I think it does definitely have, one of them is about the competition or competitive ways of business or whatever. That's one of those of the three that is not a not. Which one of these is not something you put in your business plan? Company, mission, structure, location, facilities, products and services, a market analysis. So one of the things that is going to be in your business plan is the market and the competition. Major competitors, you do put them in the business plan. So that is not your answer to what is not in the business plan. Uniqueness of pricing, strategy, marketing. That's in there. The financial plan. Balance sheet. I think one of the possible answers that I would not say is not in the business plan, since they say that you have to have the financial plan in there, is I think they ask about like orders or like cash flow for your business that you already have or that's like prospective. Like a lot of people will open a business because they have a order or they have like, I went to go get my contractor license because I had a lot of people at the time asking for like larger jobs. I was doing like really small jobs that you can do without a license. You can't do anything over the price of $2,000. And then everybody would ask me for a new roof. They would ask me for a fireplace. Those are like in the 10,000 plus range. So instead of saying what I should have said was I should have told people, yeah, I could put a roof on for $100,000. And then they would all run away. They would all say, no, I don't want to pay that much. I want to pay the cheapest that I can get, which is going to be like $6,000 for a roof. And, but how I took it was I should go get a contractor's license so I could do a whole roof. And, now I have a contractor's license and I can't do those tiny jobs because you gotta have a, you know, insurance on everything. You gotta, you know, and then now I'm like throwing the ball into a bigger game, trying to get commercial contracts, and I'll have like full remodel job going on, with a permit on it and everything. And but anyway, you do put that in your business plan. Like part of my business plan would have been, I'm gonna tell these guys that the roofs are freaking $7,000. And here's Ladybird. She's being annoying today. Goodbye, Ladybird. Here's one that might be on the test. Is I'm not sure if it was sole proprietorships, but I think it may have been. And they said, what are the advantages? Or it said, what are the advantages? Or it said, what are the disadvantages? I'm not sure. But the advantages of sole proprietorship are minimal legal requirements, simple ownership form, low startup costs, so private ownership of the benefits, and freedom of decision making process. I think that might be what they ask about, is what are the advantages. And I think one of the answers is freedom of decision making process, or it's I think the answer they wrote was, and that's what makes the test hard, is you can't just look for the same words in the book. It's like they reword the answer, which really like a lot of their rewording could change the definition of exactly what they're saying. So they're not saying the exact same thing, because they're changing words. But one of the advantages, freedom of decision making process, I think the question might have been asking something about the sole proprietor has like full right to making decisions in business. And it kind of sounded like they were applying it to like, sole proprietorship, but it's like a larger business. So it's like you are the sole proprietor, so you make all the decisions. Disadvantages. The person availability, less capital, possible difficulty, long-term financing, dissolution of the business, the owner's death. Partnerships. I'm pretty sure that it doesn't ask that you have to file your returns on Form 1065, but I would recommend knowing random numbers and weird little things like that. So if you're going to take the test, just remember partnerships in Form 165. But what I saw here on this page, that sounded like something they put in a test question. Liability, all owners in a general partnership have personal and unlimited liability for all actions undertaken in any business, including all debts. Limited partners have no personal liability for the business of the partnership. Limited partners are liable only for the previously agreed upon contribution to or investment in the business. So I think it asks you a question about liability in a partnership. I know there's one where you have to do math. It's basically like they're on 50-50 partnership and they have a debt that's, 30 grand, and so what do they owe? 15 grand each. But I kind of remember a question about like the question is about like somebody has a partnership and they like are it's like something about are they all liable, like 'cause it's like is liability or I think it was something like what are some pitfalls of having a partnership in a business, and like one of the answers was liability. So that just reminded me of something that was a question in the test. And I want to make a note of it, let everybody have the note. Everybody in the world who is studying for the PSI exam for NASA, business law, and project management. Here's something else that it reminded me of a test question. For the NASA, PSI, Contractors Licensing Board of Arkansas exam. And this reminded me of a test question. Advantages of a C corporation. Separate legal entity. Limited liability for stockholders. Unlimited life of the business. As in, if I had turned my business into a corporation, then it doesn't go out of business when I die. Since if I had a partnership or a sole proprietorship, so the corporation doesn't die with the owner. Availability of capital resources, transfer of ownership through sale of stock. Those are advantages. And then disadvantages of a corporation. Complex and expensive organization. Limitations on corporate activities and discussions or decisions by the corporate charter. So it's not like one guy that makes the decision. You gotta have a whole meeting. Extensive regulation and record keeping requirements. Double taxation. One on corporate profits and one again on dividends. So the corporation turns into its own, and that's another thing that I thought might have been mentioned somewhere in the exam. I can't remember, about the double tax on a corporation, and I think the question was something about the question and the answers, there was something about that double tax on a corporate organization, and so it might have been like, which of these is a disadvantage to a corporation, or that, but I think that might have been a question. I might even be confused. I might have been saying what was a disadvantage of a partnership, and one of the things might have said double taxation, and that's the one that's wrong. But that's the thing about the test, is a lot of the questions, they're not like simple. Like, I've taken a lot of tests, open book tests, where the answer is like right there. Like you just have to find the same words, and I'm talking about the same thing in the book. But this one, it would be something like, what are a disadvantage of, like, which of the, or it's like, which of these is not a disadvantage of a partnership? And then one of the answers would be double taxation. And then you would be like, oh, well, yeah, C corporations are double taxation, but partnerships aren't. So that's not a disadvantage for a partnership. It would be a disadvantage on a corporation. So there's something in the test about that double taxation on a corporation. I wanted to make this video note here for people. I tell people this all the time. I feel like every time somebody calls me to talk about my taxes, or they ask me about my business, like, a lot of people are confused about the name of my business, Punkter LC. Punkter LC. Now, the thing about naming your business, Punkter LC is an LLC. And to have a contractor's license, you can't have a sole proprietorship with a contractor's license. You can't just be, like, just being a sole proprietorship. You can't get a contractor's license like that. It just doesn't add up. Or I don't remember exactly, but I think that is the thing. Is you have to have an EIN number, you have to have, you know, a S corp, or you have to have a LLC, or you have to have a, you know, you can't just be a guy with a contractor's license. You can't be like, hey, what's up? I'm the guy. I got the contractor's license. You know, and tell him your name. But it's like just not allowed. You have to have a company set up, and you got to have an LLC, or you got to have a corporation, or you got to have whatever. But don't quote me on it. But there's this whole thing about naming your business, registering in Arkansas. And at some point, you can't be a LL. I don't know. Maybe you could get a license and just be a guy. But at some point, it's like, if you're going to bid on a job that's, you know, and I thought I was going to get a license and just go and start bidding on jobs and just go out there and start, you know, laying floor in a Walmart, or just doing big, you know, construction jobs like that. Because that's what I've been doing for my whole life. Doing big construction jobs. And then I get a license and they go, you're not a big enough guy. And I'm like, every freaking guy that I've ever worked for, like, it's like, I've been doing construction longer than them. For one. Like, these guys are like, they've done more prison time than me. And they're out here and they got this job. You know, and they got a contractor license, and they got, you know, the subcontractor thing, and they're hanging freaking windows in a brand new school, you know. And they got more prison time, but they don't got more construction time. And I've been seeing that my whole career. But the thing about naming a business is, I didn't want to be like, you know, Sean's Construction Company or something. Like, I wanted kind of like a company name. I felt like this thing was going to grow. So I wanted a name that would be recognizable. Didn't want to be like Diamond Windows. Like, because there's too many Diamond Windows. There's like, if it was not an untaken name, I didn't want it. So I didn't want to be like Diamond Windows. Like, if you Google Diamond Windows, there's probably like 6 of them all over the country. So I wanted a name that was untaken. And Punkter is a German word for percentage. So I thought that kind of fit my business and my business plan, or the way that my business operates, which is I'm mostly a real estate guy, really. And that was my plan with getting a license, was to get the license so I could get building permits on my rentals, because I was doing a lot of work in the dark on these rental houses or these flip houses. And if you do too much work on a flip house or a rental house in the dark, and somebody notices, you can get in trouble. Or you can't like add on bedrooms. And I thought I could do, I could get a license and I can go and do stuff like bedroom add-ons, which are a really simple job if you know what you're doing and you already got a license. You could do a bedroom add-on on a house, and then you can go buy a house, add a bedroom on, turn around, sell it, and make 10 grand a month. That kind of thing. And so, Punkter, meaning percentage, kind of was more relative to my real estate business, and just that it is like, if somebody goes to Google it, that it's an untaken word. It's not even taken in Germany. So if somebody goes and Googles my company name, they can find it right away. There's no Punkter. A lot of the company names I was thinking of, they were taken by like a band, or they were taken by a song, or they were taken by like some other product that's not construction related. And then this German word was untaken. I had been going through words on the internet looking for something that was not taken and could use for a company name for so long. It was like, I put so much time into just finding one freaking name that wouldn't pull up like a million pictures of like some guy's like guitar band or whatever. And so I was like, okay, found it. There it is. So now people can Google Punkter and they'll find my website. But people always ask me, why does it LC? And the tax lady called me and she said, oh, you have to blah, 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 file, pay some taxes or something. And she goes, are you an LLC? Or for some reason it came up, are you an LLC? I was like, yeah, I'm an LLC. I'm like, she's like, you can't just be an LLC. You have to like file for an LLC. I was like, yeah, I filed for an LLC. What do you think is going on here? And I had to tell the lady, I was like, look, the name of an LLC must include limited liability company, limited company, which that's funny because corporations have to include, and I'm pretty sure this is not on the test, but I mean, it was just like something, you could know this. Corporations must include company or limited. It says it somewhere in here. I'm looking for it. Oh, here it is. Corporation must include the words corporation, incorporated, company, limited, or abbreviation of Corp, Inc., Co., or Ltd. So limited, Co., or Inc., or Corp. But LLCs, you could use limited company or LLC or LC, and LC stands for limited company. And so that's why I use LC instead of LLC, even though it's more popular for LLC companies to put LLC in their name. I like LC because it's limited company. And I don't like that the wording on my company is limited liability company, because it's like what I'm like trying to like throw my liability into the wind. Like I'm not like, hey, yeah, this is my company, and I just want to let you know I'm not liable for freaking anything because it's just a company. Like, I'm not liable. I'm not liable. Like, hey, I'm tell you about my company. It's not liable. Like, I think it's kind of trashy to say like I have limited liability. So I just put it LC with one L. LC, limited company. And Punkter. I have few friends around America that speak German. And if you speak German, if you're an American or you're in America and you speak German and you see that name, Punkter, you'll think, oh, this guy speaks a little German. And I do. So sprechen Sie Deutsch, Paquito Mas. I forgot how to speak German, really. But I speak a little German. There's a little history class for you, and there's a little thing about LLCs and limited companies. And I'm pretty sure that there's nothing that asks you about limited companies, or if they put LC or LLC, or if they say limited or company, or there's probably not a question in the test that says, does your corporation have to have the word limited in it, or company, or, like, it's not like which of these words has to be in the corporation's name, and then like one of the words is LC. That is not a question in the test, but I wanted to make a video about the name of my company and how that was born, and when I describe my company and why the name has an LC in it, and why the name doesn't mean Windows in German, it means percentage, kind of makes me think that I'm at some or any point going to let the company just sit on the market, because it's really a real estate company. And now I'm starting to go by Punkter LC Real Estate Construction. Has been my recent company name that I've been spreading around. So the words real estate construction have been affiliated with the use of the business in this season. And maybe that'll help people make sense of why the name is a word that they've never heard of because they don't speak German, because most of the people I talk to are American and only speak English and some Spanish. I'm going to talk about more about business law. The fee every year is $150 to file your LLC's franchise tax report. And if you don't file it, it says here that they'll convert your liabilities and the LLC's like business and the stuff, your equipment will just convert over to management as personal liabilities and personal things. So the line between LLC and the guy that owns the LLC is very small. And a lot of people go and open an LLC thinking that they're gonna have limited liability with their company. And they're gonna stick their real estate into a LLC. And that's gonna be I think the word for it is an umbrella, liability umbrella. And so it's like, the idea is that they have like so many LLCs, and the LLCs only own like 1, 2, maybe 3 houses, and you're renting all these houses out. Then these tenants aren't gonna sue you for $1 million because you don't have $1 million. You only have like 3 houses. And they're gonna think like this LLC, they don't know like who owns it. It takes like time and effort to figure out what's going on. So it might stop somebody from trying to sue you. But if anybody puts in any effort, I mean, you're not gonna scare any lawyers away. If there's something to actually sue you over, they're gonna do it anyway. Even if you only own 1 house and you rent your 1 house. Like, let's say you bought a house and you moved out and you rented the house out, and now you live in the middle of the woods in like somewhere between Arkansas and Missouri, like up there where it's all mountains and woods, and you just found a place in the woods where nobody seemed to notice that you're out there, and they think you're just like some homeless crazy guy living in the woods in a tent, or maybe you build a little shack up there up in the middle of the woods, and you're out there and you're eating pine needles and leaves, and you're hunting all the time, and you got lots of like squirrels, and maybe kill like 2 bears a year, and you live off of that, and you keep them from rotting because you dry them, and you got like some bear jerky, and you're living that way, right? And you got 1 house that's rented out to Section 8 people. And those people, for some reason, they say, I'm going to sue the guy that owns this house. Is a lawyer going to say, we're not going to sue that guy because he only owns one house. It's not enough money. Probably not. If there really is something to sue over, then they're going to sue. And they don't care if there's no way to collect. Like, usually they don't go like, well, if you got 10 houses, then we'll sue them. That's not the way people think, like, in reality. They're not like, we got 10 houses, we can take them all. That's like the way an ex-wife thinks, maybe. But that's not the way that people really think. If the roof falls over and it crushes the people inside, they're going to sue you and they're going to take everything that they can. And it doesn't matter if you're an LLC. But if they have already sued you and they're already taking everything you can, that line between the LLC and your and your other LLCs and you is very slim to none. So if you're one of those people that thinks, I'm going to open an LLC, I'm going to put 2 or 3 houses in that LLC, then I'm going to open another LLC, put 2 or 3 houses in that LLC, you're just spending $150 a year on each LLC for no reason. And you're not hiding from anybody. All this stuff, like, as soon as they see that you have one LLC, they're going to see that you have however many you have. So, people can just stop trying that. That is, like, the dumbest thing that I've heard. And even if you're talking about a construction company, you're walking around and you got a construction company and it's an LLC, but you're not like really doing licensed jobs. That's why you don't need an LLC. You're just like a sole proprietor guy or whatever. But you got an LLC just because you think that, you know, Billy's gonna drop the hammer on Jimmy and Jimmy's gonna sue you. If you got an LLC construction company and they sue you and they tell you, yeah, Jimmy, Jimmy chopped his wiener off on a construction site and Jimmy's wiener is worth like more than your company, then they're going to come and they're going to take your truck. And it doesn't matter. Like, if you got an LLC, but you personally own your truck, like, no, they're still going to take your freaking truck. Like, but it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So, stop trying to have a limited liability with your company. It just lumps those liabilities together. And if somebody sues you, they're going to have an amount that you have to pay. And they're not going to care where that amount comes from. You just got to scrape that up and pay it to them. Or not, whatever. But you could close your LLC. And you could say, I'm no longer an LLC. And they're going to, well, then you owe us the money. Like, personally. But, like, it's just a very dumb idea. It's something that, like, half-ass lawyers try to sell. Like, the kind of guys that charge, they go, we'll start an LLC for you for $300. Just, fill out this form online. And then you, like, fill out their form, and at the end you put, like, $300 on your credit card, and they, like, go and fill out an LLC for you. Those are a ripoff. Those guys don't know what they're talking about. They're lying, trying to get $300 from you. That's the world we live in. And it's a dumb sales pitch for people trying to sell we'll start you an LLC service. This is something that is in the test, and I don't remember exactly what the question was, but joint ventures And you can read that. Their joint venture is a special business agreement that exists when two or more companies join to undertake a specific project. The management of a joint venture is often assigned to one individual company. This arrangement brings together companies with complementary resources and strengths. When forming this type of venture, it is important to consult an attorney with all aspects of the risk covered. Arkansas State Statute 1725-31. And I'm pretty sure that this is what it was in the test. There was for sure a question that had something to do with this, or requires that prior to a joint venture exchanging in or offering and engage in contracting work in Arkansas, each contracting party of the joint venture shall be properly licensed under the Arkansas Contractor Licensing Law, or a proper contractor's license shall be obtained in the name of the joint venture. So what they're talking about, and what I think the question and the test was talking about, is, let's say you have a contractor and a company that wants to build like a high rise, right? Or a big like, we'll say they're building like something really cool, like a golf course, right? So you got a company, and they're like a golf course company, and you got a contractor, and he says, let's say they both want to go in on this golf course, right? They're gonna go in as a joint venture on a golf course. Let's say this. I think that was what the question was based around, was if one of them is just financing the deal and the other one is a contractor, but he's also in there, like he's not just a contractor, he owns the joint venture, right? But one of them just financing, but they're not a contractor. The answer would be they got to get a proper contractor's license that covers both of the companies, but it's just covering the joint venture, so it's covering the group. So you would take, let's say the contractor, the guy's got a contractor license and he passed this test I'm trying to take here, and he wants in on some company comes in, they want to build like a golf course. He says, yeah, I'll come out and build the golf course. And I want like piece of the action. And so they might, instead of sending these guys to just have a lot of money and they want to, build a golf course, and maybe they got another golf course in Texas, and I'm putting a golf course over here in Arkansas, or the license covers a multi-state area, so maybe they're putting the golf course like down by the beach in Louisiana, and what you would have to do is you take your guy that wants a piece of the action and wants to be in on the joint venture, and he's got a contractor's license, and the investing company, and you got to make them open a contractor's license together, and he would be the authorized person or the qualified party in the joint venture. And that's your answer. And I'm not sure what the question is, but I'm pretty sure that there was a question that had something to do with exactly that. This is for an example of things that are in the book that may be on the test but aren't. And the test goes crazy over what tax code, like the number of the tax code, like, oh, if you filed a form 401F, then when is your taxes due? You would think you wouldn't know what a 401F is if you didn't file one, but that is the test. That's how it is. But one thing that isn't in the test, or at least it wasn't in my test, is something like this. It says, the board regulates the licenses, and that the law for considering a board is 1725-101 through, you see these numbers, 1725-315, and then 1725-401 through 1725-409. This kind of trivia, usually a professional test that, as far as that I've seen, other than this one, they don't want to know that you know that it's 1725-101 through 1725-315. It focus more on the things that you actually need to know. But one reason that wouldn't be in the test, and this is what makes it being an open book test not all that helpful, is because you end up going through the book thinking, where did it say that? Where did it say that? And you look at that, and then the numbers are right here, too. So, in a lot of open book tests, you would think, or what I've seen in the past in college and, such, is an open book test, you go and they'll have a dumb question, dumb trivia like that, like, how do you find the definition of funds? 1725-402. So that's a lot of open book tests. This one, they don't ask about that, what law number code it is. But they do ask about the usage of, and then instead of saying based on such and such a number of income, they say, what would you do with the income if you filed by a certain tax code or a certain form? And then the form, you have to file a certain form if your company is making a certain amount, and then that form and that amount you would have to file at certain periods of the year on certain dates, and you have to know that. They ask that stuff a lot. That question comes up and comes up and comes up. But I'm here and I saw this. It reminded me of that. I found one that I know I got wrong on the test. Penalties for violating contractor licensing law would be not to exceed 3% of the total project being performed by the contractor. The question in the exam asks what the civil penalty for violating your contractor's licensing law is, and the choices are 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, or something like that. So you have to know that. And both parties must have a license for a $50,000 project, except for manufacturers, architects, and engineers, and on work on federal property under a contract with the federal government are exempt. There is definitely a question about who is exempt, and it's probably a who is not exempt question, because there are 3 that are exempt. But I remember there being that question. This is definitely in the test, and it is the $100 to $400 a day for the activity of working outside the classification of a license or working without a license. It's actually not a lot. So I guess if you bid and you can get more than that, then it would be worth it to work without a license. But and I mean, I paid $1,000 for. I paid like $10,000 for like 1 or 2 days of plumbing. You can go out and do a $10,000 plumbing job in 2 days. And if you get caught, you'd get an $800 penalty, or you'd get less than that because they cannot exceed 3%. So 3% of $10,000, what is that, baby? $300. And then penalties for working without a $10,000 contractor's bond are up to 5% of the project being performed. So that's a little in addition to board, they refuse to license the applicant, refuse license licensee. Civil penalties must be paid within 20 days of the date of the hearing. I don't remember that being a question. How many days must a civil penalty be paid? I remember them asking a lot of different, how many days between paying this and that, but not the civil penalty. I'm not sure. But I'm dog-earing this page. A dog ear. Because you're not allowed to make marks, and you're not allowed to use those stickers. You know how you see people going to take a test and they'll have a million stickers on the side of their book. You're allowed to dog ear the pages, but you're not allowed to make marks.
Can't you
or
use
use the stickers?
Sticky note or something?
So I feel like there might be a question where, like, I would just go by the 3% and just try to remember that it's 3% without a license or working outside the classification. But a $10,000 contractor's bond with 5%, that's why the test is really hard, because there's a lot of like little twists in the rules. It's like, but if here's a contractor without a bond, then it's 5% instead of 3%. Like, this is like a little dumb like trivia twist, and this is all very trivial. A lot of the numbers and the facts are really trivial, and they're really like, they change, a word, they change a number. It's really twisty gobbledygook, and you're really memorizing basically like a new alphabet. It's really dumb. Here's one that might be in the test. Risk management, we're talking about insurance. And $3 million of coverage on occurrence aggregate. $3 million coverage. Your workers' compensation claim vehicle insurance. So that might be a question. Looks like something that could be a question is how much is, are you supposed to be insured for? $3 million, but I am not sure. I don't particularly remember them asking that, but I remember insurance being something on the test. And talking about insurance, I feel like they could throw some quizzing at you over the insurance. This Keyman insurance seems like something that if you have a really big company, and especially if your supervisors are like freaking 70. I've been on crews where the superintendent would call out dead. This is the kind of thing that the test should be testing on, is what are the coverage requirements? Employers engaged in building repair. The workers' compensation coverage. Workers' compensation is required. The employer, contractor, subcontractor. contracts. If the employer is subcontract one or more employees, workers' compensation coverage is required. I feel like that is so basic, it doesn't deserve to be on a test. But this is dog-eared because this is in the test. And it is the bid bonds. Requires contractors present 5% bid bond. Yeah, that was definitely a question, was what's the percentage? It's 5%.